Welcome to In Her Words. This podcast is for women navigating through change, career, identity, motherhood, and just figuring out what's next. I'm Roberta Dombrowski, host of In Her Words and founder of Learn Mindfully. Each episode, I sit down with women who are asking big questions, navigating transitions, and trying to make sense of life as it shifts. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need space to be real. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of In Her Words. I'm Roberta, founder of Learn Mindfully. In this episode, I brought my friend Nyam Adodoadji to have a conversation with the community. Nyam is a somatic practitioner, poet, and guide for creative leaders in transition. Her coaching and creative work explores themes of identity and human becoming. This is a recording from last week's webinar. In it, we chat all about why the career ladder narrative was never actually a choice for most people, how the pandemic had many rethinking their approach to work, and why career change doesn't always have to mean quitting your job. We also answer questions that people submitted ahead of time and asked during the call. If you want to join live for some more upcoming events, just visit learnmindfully.co/events to sign up. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I know you as someone who has navigated a number of career transitions like myself. To help kind of ground everybody, I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your background and journey that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah. I would say my journey is really marked by a lot of twists and turns. So very familiar with kind of transition. I started my career as a product manager in tech very much by accident. I was always a creative, sensitive girly. When I graduated from college, though, I ended up at a Silicon Valley startup, which was very different than what I expected. That unfortunately what kicked off kind of a number of cycles of burnout, crying in bathrooms, working wild hours till I, in 2021, during the pandemic, had a moment of reckoning, as I think a lot of people did in different ways. And I was just like, is this just going to be my life? Am I just going to keep working at jobs? I burn out, I quit, and then I come back again.
Yep.
That led me to take a 1 year career break. So I planned and saved and took about a year off because I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to try to reset my life and career trajectory. And I thought at the end of the year, I was going to know exactly what I wanted to do. I did not. And I think we'll kind of get more into it in the conversation. But I explored trying to do some product consulting work, but realized I wanted to help my peers ask the most important questions in life. That's what led me into the coaching branch of things.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing your background and journey. What you mentioned about it's like the iterations of burnout. I definitely can relate to that coming from a tech background as well. And what a gift you gave yourself with the year-long sabbatical.
Yeah. It was, it's not an understatement to say it saved my life, truly.
Yeah. Did you do any traveling during that time?
I did a little bit. I went to Ghana, which is where my family is from, Colombia, Mexico, Spain, and Portugal.
So we're talking about today, like the next logical step. And I guess to ground us a little bit, I'm curious about your perspective of like career transitions and like trajectory, because I know oftentimes it was like you work hard, you climb a ladder, you make it to the next rung. What is your perspective now based on like your own journey and then even the work you do through your coaching as well?
Yeah. From my perspective, I never really climbed the corporate ladder. I think there was always something in me that kind of like I could sense that I didn't quite fit into the career ladder, which I think was a part of what the burnout was signaling.
Yep.
But I know for a lot of peers and folks kind of at midlife, mid-career, it's totally makes sense, right? Like we were told like, hey, like here's the thing you do, like go to college, maybe go to grad school, like get XYZ type of job, climb the ladder. And, we weren't necessarily presented with alternatives. And that was kind of how I experienced it too, was like, all right, well, I don't know. I guess I'll do this. But yeah, but I don't know too if you're experiencing this in the cultural moment as well. It feels like now's this moment where everybody was like, hold up, hold up, hold up. This was supposed to be when I'm
Yep. Yeah.
stabilizing, and
Yeah.
now everything's falling apart.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would say what you mentioned really resonates. Like if I think about my own career, like I fell into tech as well. Like
Mhm.
I first job out of school went into tech, you're told that you'll get great salary and that's how it all started and kind of switched between product and research and stuff like that. When I talk to a lot of clients, I hear similar themes where it's like, I went into this, I didn't really think about other options unless you have like something like a career counselor during your time in college or even like high school who talks about these different paths and what they mean. They're typically not starting with like, here's how I want my life to look like when I'm older. And then this is the work that's going to get me there. It's
Yeah.
usually like, oh, like I got to pay off my loans or like debt. Let me get in this job and like see where it goes. And so with midlife, it's an identity shift stage you're
Mhm.
going through, and that causes you to question everything. And then on top of the pandemic, that was another identity, like seismic identity, like shift for everybody, where we're just like, we're at home. What are we doing? Am I happy? Do I have energy? And all of
Yeah.
that. So, and then you blink and it's 2026, almost August, which is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's like a very common like theme and pattern that I'm seeing with people as they're going through transitions right now is just what do I want? Like,
Yeah.
even though I did this before, what does that look like now? Which is really powerful, but also scary time. It can be scary, it can be disorienting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, I feel like for a lot of women and femmes in particular, I think we're also socialized to orient ourselves around
Yes.
other people's priorities and
Hmm.
expectations. And so I think midlife also has that layer of, I think it's when a lot of women and femmes are like, wait a second,
Yeah.
and so, but it can also be disorienting because if you're not used to tapping into what you actually want, it's like, well,
Correct.
how do I even do that,
And so I'm curious, we're starting to talk about it a little bit um, from your own experience or even working with clients as well. Did you go through a process of like thinking about other people's expectations when you were like about to take that year-long sabbatical or even going through like different career transitions?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. The expectations I bumped up against, I think, were maybe kind of a little bit of like shame in terms of like how
Mm,
many times I had left jobs and I often didn't have other jobs lined up because I was just like
hmm.
so gutted from burnout.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's uncommon for people to be carrying, right, other people's expectations throughout
Yeah.
their career. And I think it can be tricky too because it can kind of be mixed in together with like it is giving us something, right? Maybe it's like you're
Yeah.
like, say with a tech career, even if you didn't expect it, it's like that financial stability
Right.
makes a huge difference. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's getting you approval, maybe it's getting you belonging. So there is something about the expectations that can be tricky, but
Yeah.
I think where it starts to rub is when it's like, okay, like, but I this is not clicking and I want something different. So
Yeah.
what do I do with these expectations? How can I have a different relationship to them,
Yeah, absolutely. That resonates a lot. One thing that I notice is the rub you're talking about. For me, it manifested in like panic attacks or exhaustion. Like I
Mhm.
was seeing symptoms somatically show up that
Yeah.
impacted just like happiness outside of life, like outside of work in my everyday life, that it's almost like the body starts to scream to you to notice. So you'll pay
Yeah.
attention and then take an action or change something based off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a very common
Yeah.
story that it is like when we're used to being disconnected from ourselves, not knowing kind of our signals of what feels right for
Yeah.
us or in tune for us, that the body gets our attention is like, hey, but that can also be a really painful process. Like I've also experienced things like panic attacks, like
Yeah.
the recurring burnout,
Yeah.
the crying in bathrooms, crying and also crying in front of colleagues, right? Like
Yeah.
these things that are painful and tender, but that are also like signals that are telling us that something's not right, you know?
Yeah, it's telling us, you're a human inside
Yeah.
of the system. I've been through a number of transitions myself. I think the most difficult one for me to go through was when I stepped down from the executive level transition, because it's like,
Yeah.
you have VP title, you have the salary, you have the benefits and all of that stuff. And the act of sharing it with other people, they're like, have you lost your mind? More family than anybody else because of like, depending on backgrounds, it's like, no, that is the culmination of all your work. Why would you abandon that for something that like you're doing your own business or you don't even know what you're doing yet? And so I think it's very common. It's socialization, there's expectations. And I think even when we're in corporate, there's these unwritten expectations that sometimes even managers will have on us that are like, hey, like they expect you to climb the ladder and you're like, actually I don't want to. Like that's not the measure of success that I'm going for. It's something else.
I'm curious for you with that step in terms of stepping down from that exec level role. What did you draw upon to trust yourself and to move through the
Yeah.
responses?
I think a big one for me, because I was working with a coach myself at the time, the big eye-opening moment was when I did values discovery with my own coach, and I was able to take a step back and see like the patterns across everything and realizing that like this is who I am are the values and the way that I express them is in different ways. Like, yes, it was that role. It also can be in these other ways too. That gave me the confidence to say it's okay to explore. I always tell clients too that we're not going to retire from this corporate job. Like most of us aren't. Like the reality is like people are shifting every few years now. It makes sense to go after what you want and build, whether that's building something you want to, or maybe you do want a full-time job for the stability. Life is only so long. We only have so much limited time. Yeah, values shift and change over time. Like beginning of career, it might have been like, oh, I want to learn as much as possible. Mid-career, it's like, no, I want to rest. I want sustainability. I want something else. So we go through seasons for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
I am curious, did you have like fear leading up to that experience going into the unknown of the sabbatical?
I don't think I really did, mostly because I'd hit such a point of like really of desperation that I was just
Hmm.
like I don't know what comes after this,
Yeah.
but this can't be my life. This can't be my
Yeah.
life being miserable, like staring at a computer screen. So I think in that sense, I didn't necessarily feel fear leading up to it. I think
Hmm.
after it, I mean, even sometimes now, like I think where I experience fear is like, can I, as I'm building a business, like, can I actually make this work? And sometimes feeling like, because I think before I was thought, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always just like fall back, to a full-time
Yeah.
job. But now the market's like wild. So I'm like,
Yeah.
be there. So that's kind of the ways that I've experienced fear kind of throughout the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely not alone there as well. I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who have that too, where it's like the backup plan to solopreneurship is going back to corporate, but now that corporate's kind of blown up, what does it look like now? So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I'm curious when you are working with clients, how are you helping them like determine their next career move? Are there certain things? Because I imagine people coming to you might have fear around what's next or that it's
Mhm.
unknown what's next for them. Can you tell us a little bit about how you support folks and what your process is like?
The biggest thing that I always start folks in is reconnecting to their bodies. And partly because kind of my practice is rooted in somatics, but also because I believe that the body is one of the main ways that our intuition and our
Yep.
inner wisdom speak. And that's really like the core goal of when I'm working with clients is that whatever kind of career transition they're in, that they're able to tap into what they actually want, that they're able to ultimately tap into self-trust. In terms of reconnecting to their body, the basic things of, and again, it sounds very, very basic, but like, hey, are you tuning into your signals of like, I'm hungry, I'm
Yep.
thirsty, I need to
Yeah.
relieve myself, I'm tired, and meeting those needs because in corporate, it's very common that
Ignore.
we
Yeah.
blow past it and it's normalized, right?
Yeah. And rewarded a
And
lot of the
rewarded.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But if we're not able to tune into those basic body signals, then it can be a lot harder to tune into kind of the more subtle signals of,
Mm-hmm.
what your intuition may be saying to you. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the core part of it. And then really a lot of the work that I'm doing together with clients is helping them tune back into their voice through different reflection exercises and to in our sessions kind of explore different, the common scenarios that they're going through, exploring what future goals they have, and then starting to like kind of like by listening to the body surface up like,
Yeah.
hey, what are the scripts and the stories that, you know, at one point they helped you get to where you needed to be, but that right now you're feeling like don't serve you anymore.
Yeah, very similar type of approach that I take with my clients as well. I'm curious because of the way that the market currently is. Obviously, the reality is some people don't have the financial backup
Yeah.
or like they're just trying to hold on to their role because they need the
Yeah.
stability while everything's crazy. Do you think career moves are possible when there's like financial constraints for folks?
It's a very important question. Money is like 1,000% real. Economic constraints are a thousand
Yeah.
percent real. And I think with this, it gets tricky though, because I think the image that people might have in their minds is blow up your life, quit your job, and go all in on a business,
Yeah. Yep.
which, most of us don't have the leeway to do something like that. And so what I say to folks is that it's okay to build a bridge towards what you want. How can you start exploring what you're curious about, what questions you're asking, what's of interest to you
Mhm.
through low stakes experiments? Like,
Yeah.
talk to somebody that's doing something that you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe you're able to do a class. So, what are these things that are accessible that don't mean blow up your
Blowing.
life, go into your office and say, "F you,"
Yeah. Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend, even though maybe
I've
you
done it
want.
before, so yeah, I've done it many times. At least personally in many of my career transitions. It is like this point where the body's talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm ignoring it. I'm carrying on. I'm like, no, I just need to keep going. And then what ends up happening is like I hit this breaking point and I'm like, fuck it, I gotta quit. Or
Yeah.
like, F this, I need to go. And I leave. Like that was my historical
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah.
I think that what you're talking about, it's like, it's almost black and white thinking for people.
Mhm.
It's like, well, I'm either working full time or I'm leaving and I'm going to do my own thing and I'm building this other thing. And what you're talking about is where's the gray in the in between? Because oftentimes it's not just a one to one straight journey. What are the experiments you can run if you are networking and looking for a new full time role? Who are the people you can talk to? What does that look like? There's
Yeah.
a lot of in between and like possibilities that I think people can have blinders to or just need someone else to kind of show them the perspective.
Yeah. And I think it can also sometimes it can feel safer to lean into a
Mm.
story of like, well, like I can't do that black and white thing. So like I just need to like
Yeah.
hunker down where I am.
And for context too, to kind of make it more tangible, one story that I used to have myself was like, I can't be a business owner. Like, I can't be a coach. I can't be like a therapist. I can't do this. And with a gentle kind of questioning, I was able to shift that. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
oh no, actually I can. And now I'm doing it. And it took someone else outside of myself to kind of challenge those thoughts to
Yeah.
me that I had and be like, well, why can't you? Is
Yeah.
that true? Yeah.
Yeah. And like what, like kind of getting curious about where's the idea of like, oh, I can't
Coming
do
from. Yeah.
XYZ thing, and again, curiosity versus like judgment, because sometimes
Yeah.
people kind of sway and be like, oh, but it's like,
Yes.
where's that coming from? Like just having
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation with that part of yourself.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to emphasize with clients is the curiosity over judgment. It's the we're always learning. What is like, where did that thought come from? What are you going to do differently? It's just always continual progression in that way. So you mentioned like experimentation is kind of an approach you take with clients. If someone is just becoming aware of like this narrative that we're talking about that's kind of blocking them, it don't no longer fits, it no longer applies to them, they're not sure what they want, what's kind of the first step that someone can take?
I think an accessible first step someone can take is reflecting on past experiences where you
Mm-hmm.
felt alive. In these past
Yeah.
experiences, I would say not, they can be inside of work, or they can be outside of work, they can be in different environments.
Yeah.
But being curious and reflecting on, oh yeah, like in this, experience, I felt alive. What was it about that experience? Was it people I was with? Was it the environment? Was it what I was getting to do? And that sort
Yeah.
of can start to become this thread of inquiry where you start reconnecting to what makes you feel alive and what you desire. Because
Yeah.
I know it can be, especially if we're used to not being in touch with what we
Yeah.
want, it can be like, I don't know what I want. So that can be a way to tap into it.
Your previous experiences are signals for sure. And I think with corporate and work, we're so like anxiety is contagious, the movement always being on is contagious. And so we don't give ourselves that gift of slowing down. And so I think that's really beautiful about the just taking time to reflect like, what do I like? Like,
Mhm.
even if it's experiences in the past, why that job? Why did I take that job? What drew me to it? And then how am I feeling about it now? And kind of comparing it can really start to, once you see the patterns, the confidence and I think the inner knowing comes back for people as well.
I think also I'll share this book that you
Oh,
can't see the
can't
name.
see it.
Can't see it, but it's The Magic of Knowing What You Want by Tracy G. Highly
Very
recommend this
cool.
book. And she talks about that. She talks about what she calls desire fog, right? That's really
Mm,
common for folks to be like, I don't know what I want to do. And one of the other things she talks about is, noticing when you start to put down, say, things that you're curious about, things that you want to do,
mhm.
noticing that pragmatism, for example, like help shuts down that
Yeah.
that place of curiosity. So how can you, instead of
Yes.
automatically shutting it down, not dismissing the practical
Yes.
realities, but like, can you put it in kind of a separate bucket, but let yourself be present to like what desire is emerging when you have
Yeah.
list out those interests.
I love that. I tangentially, I feel like whenever we talk, you always have an amazing book recommendation. So deliver it again. I love it. Thank you. Feel free. Was there anything that you wanted to share with the group that I didn't ask you already? Yeah.
Oh, good question. One thing that I would offer is that transition takes time.
It does. Yeah.
And I think in our culture, we're also really programmed to treat uncertainty as though there's something wrong. And so it's like, even again, especially in corporate, I think there's a lot of like, eliminate the uncertainty.
Yes.
And that's not how nature works. That's not how creativity works. There's just an aspect of a process of becoming that happens in the darkness.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with you. You're just in process, which can
Yeah.
feel very uncomfortable, but there's nothing wrong with you. You're going through a natural
Yeah.
cycle of becoming.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you're saying about the uncertainty because as humans, we hate it. Like we want to eliminate it. We
Yeah.
overthink it too because we want certainty. And then, yeah, we're overthinking because we want certainty. And then we kind of get in our own way in some ways because we're overthinking. It's funny when I at least have gone through career transitions myself or I help clients, oftentimes it's like what you're saying. We're just bringing them back to themselves and letting them sit with it. And sometimes, like the big aha you think you're waiting for is actually not as big. It's
Mhm.
like, it's this thing you've been circling around for a while and like this dream or desire you've always had in the back of your head.
Mhm.
But we are giving you the space to think about it and finally make moves towards it as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It
Very true.
doesn't always have to be so hard. Sometimes it can be easeful and rooting and a coming home to yourself. Yeah. I am seeing a message. How do you shift people from getting stuck in one phase of experimentation because they do want that certainty that like something's either going to work out or whatever question they might. Yeah. How do you keep them going, keep them iterating?
A question that I invite into clients into that phase for clients is like, what is the information? Like, what is kind of the least amount of legible information you need in order
Mm,
to make a different or next step?
mhm.
Or, okay, like what inviting them in to make a clear, even if it's a very small decision around what do you want to do with all of this information?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
think, again, especially, I think women and femmes who are highly competent and conscientious often get stuck in this phase of like, I'm going to research and I'm going to research and I'm going to
Yeah.
research.
Yeah.
And I would say, even if you're not pursuing entrepreneurship, the thing I have learned in entrepreneurship is like, you need to, as much as possible, like do something in
Yes. Take
in the room
action.
and then reflect on that and get data. And so that's the process I take my clients through, which is like, okay, like take the action, reflect, and it can be a micro action, but just
Yeah.
keep taking action.
I would say, as a researcher and as a coach, a lot of my clients end up being from research backgrounds or like
Mhm.
science-based backgrounds, very common. And so I always try to bring it back to like the learning goals. What are you trying to learn through experimentation? Because even when we say we're networking or having conversations, or maybe you're volunteering or something like that, you're actually leading with like the method first rather than the learning goal or the research question that you
Mhm.
have. And so I
Mhm.
kind of bring that approach to career strategy and transition. So it's like, what are you trying to learn? Who do you need to talk to? How do you know? How are you gonna apply the information?
Yes.
So we're not just collecting analysis paralysis in many ways. So I find that experimental approach, that's how we're measuring like success. And then it makes it easier for folks who might be more cognitively strategy or research
Yeah.
based in how they approach things. I'm curious how you generally approach thinking through compromises in your decision making around work. For example, if something's a great role in a company, but they have limited PTO, how do you think about those when it comes to kind of your next opportunity?
I would think about it and invite clients to recenter on what is important to you in this current season. So for
Mm,
example, like with this one, if the limited PTO is kind of a maybe a sticking point because you're wanting to travel more, maybe you're just wanting more flexibility, kind of going through a little bit of a weighing process of what's important to me in this season of my life for myself, for my
yeah,
family, for my career goals, and then weighing out what are you willing to be like, okay, I'm willing to like put up with that. No, actually this is a non-negotiable. But I really, really invite my clients to center on what is it that you actually want so that you are consciously making the decision, not like, well, this is here, it's okay, and then
yeah.
it actually not being what you actually want.
Yeah, similarly, I'll ask people like, what are you prioritizing for this season?
Yeah.
Or what do you want for this season? This is something I'm personally experiencing because I am in a season of very much fullness. Like I got baby,
Mhm.
grad school, business, like want to have fun, be out in the garden myself. And so there is a lot of compromises that I have to make. I have like a priorities list that I keep like at my desk just as always a reminder. It's like, this season it's always me, families like second, work, school. Like that's the order for a lot of the season that I'm in. it's not going to be that way always, but that's where we are right now. And so I walk folks through similar exercises as well. And then I also do an activity called the ideal work profile, where we actually go through different components when someone's transitioning or searching for work. We do like the magic wand ideal. And then we also will do like, if you need a bridge role, what are your minimums? And like,
Yeah.
let's prioritize that. Like, if you're going to take a job, but it's not meeting your financial goals, like, that's the thing you're not compromising on. If you are for this season prioritizing rest or PTO, or like you're struggling from burnout, then that's the highest priority. Maybe it's going back to them and negotiating part of the offer, or looking at a different place entirely. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
also invite my clients to consider how is it that they're wanting to feel or that they imagine they'll
Yeah.
feel, because what can also happen is that we can think like, if I once I get XYZ thing,
Right.
XYZ, then I'm going to feel this way. But then you get to it and you're like, oh, actually, I don't feel this way. So how can
Yeah.
I call it like the energetic heartbeat. I like invite
Yeah.
my clients into like, how do you connect into kind of the way you want to feel? Maybe it's through music, through different things that inspire you, that
Yeah.
connect you back
Yeah.
into that energy, so that that also becomes like a fuel and a beacon as you're making the decision. So
Yeah.
that, again, it doesn't mean that it'll necessarily be absolutely everything that you want, but you're doing it from that energetic standpoint of what you want, so
Yeah.
that you're making kind of a clear and empowered decision.
Because a lot of the times too, when we're in scarcity mindset or market is crazy, we can make decisions out of fear. And how do we make that decision when you're grounded and intentional and really focused on what you want and how you're going to feel on a day to day? Because that's
Yeah.
something like, if you accept a job, you're committing to that. Usually you're waking up, you're going to have to be in it. So are you going to be able to survive with limited PTO, or is that something that really you need to for yourself, for just self-care perspective? So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. How can they reach out to you if they want to learn more?
Folks can reach out to me on LinkedIn, which I know people have mixed feelings about LinkedIn, but I promise I'm not a weird like LinkedIn influencer thing. I probably say a lot of things on LinkedIn that you're like, I want to say that out loud. And then you can also find me on Substack. I'm She Speaks Softly on Substack, and then on my website at nyamadodoadji.com.
Amazing. I will drop a link in the chat too. She has this amazing career reflection journal for anybody that is interested. And we have a few more events coming up for folks who might be interested in joining as well. So you can go to learnmindfully.co/events for that. It's all free for the summer. And then I also have an offering. It's a free resource for anybody who is trying to get more in touch with their thoughts, their feelings about their next step, but they're hearing all this noise from like outside of them. So there's some great reflection activities for folks in that as well. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining today. It was so lovely to have you with us. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for being here. If something in this episode landed with you, feel free to pass it along to someone who might need it too. You can leave a review, subscribe, or just keep tuning in. We're figuring it out together. And remember, your story, your voice, your becoming, it all matters.